will be brutally honest. Ain't nothing but being brutally honest. Coming at you with another video.
What is up, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rafael Chicon, man. How's it going, bro?
I'm doing good at all because right now it is the month of June, and right now I can't wait for the football season coming off in the next few months, and I'm getting ready. I'm getting popped out.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. For 2 years ago when you had me on your show, I had to owe you one in return, man. So all 31 teams, something new, something a little more perspective. But we've known each other for a little bit. So tell the audience who you are, man.
All right, so my name is Rafael Chassin, but you can call me El Capitan Rafucho. Right now, I'm doing something better than YouTube, and I just started as a content creator as 2021, just like in August, and I was producing in my own stuff, my sports podcast called Captain's Corner, and then without getting like the opportunity to work out with some special guests, I was working out with Face to Face, which I had the opportunity to work with CG Ruthless, also with Mitch Koski. We're talking about for everything about the sports, and then I just spend myself as a content creator. I just expanded to do like something brand new, and also not only doing about for the play-by-play, but also I do my own Radio Nation podcast, which is Civilian Black Experience. And I had the opportunity to talk with some of the content creators, talk about a breakdown for the players, also for the stats and what's happened for the off season. I mean, that really happens because right now I'm almost there at 1K subscribers. So I couldn't tell you about it because it's not getting easy at all, because after a whole years of hard work and providing something like graphic design and everything. So I'm very appreciative about that. My work isn't now very done, but right now I'm giving like a 100% and doing all my best.
Yeah. So it's all that matters, man. See, you're already getting close to 1K, so it's all that matters. And wait, but aren't you like from Venezuela, or you just have families that came from there? Because I know you told me.
Yes, I'm from Barquisimeto, Venezuela, but I live in Charlotte, North Carolina since 2018. But since 2018, I wasn't able to learn something new about for the football, the NFL. But after that I just saw for the history of the organization, I was getting involved with the football, especially for the Raiders, because not only I just get involved with the NFL about for the stats about what's going to happen, but also I was getting involved with the Raider Nation, even though that I live in the East Coast. I mean, that really happens to us because
you would figure what makes you a fan in the East Coast, because you came from Venezuela, you moved down North Carolina. You would figure maybe a Panthers or another team, but what stood out about the Raiders? Was it the popularity of the fan base, or how'd you found the Raiders as a purpose team?
Yeah, because that was like the popularity of the fans. Because at first, because some of those fans that wanted to be included like a player, but at that point, when I became like a Raider fan, is because the history, the organization about for the culture and tradition. But I just saw like a few plays of the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and I was learning about all the stuff what happened to the Raider Nation. It was like that's the team that I really need to represent, because there's like another teams who doesn't involve like the fan base, but I really understand what it true to be figured it out about for the Raider Nation. And then What I was getting bold at this one because how did I become about this fan? It's not only about for one player. It's all about for the Shield. It's all about for the organization. It's all about the greatest things that will launch to happen. So that's one of my points right now because it's not only about for one player. It's all about the organization, about the Shield that it really involves me during all these years and as a content creator, as a fan. So yes.
I mean, like they say, players come and go, fans
Mhm.
remain loyal. That
Yep.
kind of, yeah, that kind of thing. Just like you're wearing the black Sunday, which is the symbol of what the Raiders have on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they do have a popularity as far as their own fan base. I guess everybody underestimates how certain fans, like, you get a lot of them in different locations, but in the East Coast, you'd be surprised, like from what I'm hearing. Like, there's some Niner fans down the East Coast I'm hearing about. Then there's a lot of Raider fans on certain other sides of the. There was this one guy who's from New York or something who happens to like the Raiders too, and he was like saying, "Yeah, they got some pretty deep fan base over there."
Oh yes. Yeah, I haven't heard about that, but yes. But
But
I
yeah.
haven't. Yep.
Oh, what were you gonna say? Oh,
Yeah, then also because it's all about for the tradition that I was getting working it out. And then what I just looking about for the fans of the West Coast because we in the East Coast because we're just having like a just look at the field one because there's like at the field ones in New York City or Philadelphia, but it also represent for the whole nation that we are truly are.
yeah. I mean, find a team that fits you. Everybody finds what kind of represents them. Doesn't
Mhm.
matter the location. Like you see a lot of these Cowboy fans from all over the world, or
Oh
Green Bay
yes.
Packers from all over the world. But I guess they found their own.
No.
I guess they find their own purpose. But going into this offseason, I know this was kind of like something that you were looking forward to when you had when they got rid of Josh McDaniels. They went from Antonio Pierce. But how do you feel about this offseason? Like from the Raiders' perspective, going into free agency, going into the draft, how did you feel about how they were approaching?
Well, after for the whole nightmare that we just got it from Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, I mean, that's not gonna work it at all because they try to adopt like the Patriot way, but it's not that real simple. But I just figured it out that some things could happen. But in my point, I was like, what the hell is gonna happen right now? Because it's not gonna work it. But when it comes to Antonio Pierce, the things are getting started like very good at all. Because right now, after a whole years of disaster, disappointment, I mean, we just got real deal to what it means to go to the playoffs. And I know that we just got eliminated after we just lost against the Indianapolis Colts, but after what you see for the draft, I mean, the only important thing to see, we didn't draft a quarterback besides for that because the whole quarterback is totally full because the other teams went out to put him out there. But the only strategy that Tom Telesco that just happened, no draft the quarterback, just draft anything above for the defense because there's a lot of positions to get to hold right now. And we just did it. We just have like back-to-back tight end, which is Brock Bowers, which is like one of the greatest tight ends in college football, which is from Georgia. And boy, what can I tell about it? He's an underdog. He's just like a dog, but he can see like the reaction because it's all about production and the tight end rule is gonna be so explosive. But also we just include for Trey Trey Taylor, which is from Air Force, also Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon State, which is belongs to Bo Nix, also Dylan Love, Tommy Eichenberg. I mean, the whole defense, we just wanted to figure it out who's going to be the best, who's going to be the worst. But in my point, after a whole years of getting like very involved with disaster, right now is about the time to get a redemption. I mean, the whole defense is going to be building up because right now we just got dogs everywhere because we just got the best of the best. We got an all-star. We got Max Crosby. We got Robert Spillane. I mean, we're gonna have it about this one. So the Raiders defense are getting like very involved about the production, but also I would love to see getting involved about for the positions because is this gonna be like the best in 20 years? I mean, we've been seeing like it since the 90s. I mean, that just went because we couldn't score. We just not allowed for more than 300 players, but I just figured it out because it might be could have like the best rated defense I would see because if they can sustain over the next couple of years, it definitely has to score because I remember there was the closest one with Namdi, but after what you see for Jack Jones, I mean, they just have it to see like the early 90s and the 70s because for me, the leadership of Antonio Pierce being like the players know their backs and understandables were under the field because he did it by himself. I mean, that constantly because it's just very small because after we just beat out the Chiefs at Arrowhead and kind of like the dumbass penalties we will play because they're like the two goal fetters and we'll be like everything could happen because after we just won against Chargers, after we just won Chiefs. I mean, boy, what can I tell about it? This is like one of the best because right now I'm very impressed that since I'm mentioning about the shit can, but it's gonna be like the next level. As long as gonna say drag us down, I just want to be lifting now because it's all about the 100% cultural swing that it took out the headset. I really could have liked the full up season, but other defense in the last 2 decades now, I mean, this is gonna be like a really legit.
I mean, Pierce is already turning around that culture, just like the way he's doing it quickly. But can he actually do it in a full season? We'll see what happens. I mean, you guys are doing right. In the draft, like you just said, Brock Bowers is one of the best tight ends in the class. I think that like what you said best was those quarterbacks were all taken. I think you guys had some intention for Michael Penix and Jaden Daniels, I think, and then it just didn't happen. But getting Jackson Power Johnson, man, that dude was like one of the best centers in the draft, in my opinion, hands down. I mean, Trey Taylor, to me, I interviewed this kid like I think like 2 months before the draft, and I just like this. I like this character. The guy is a baller. Maybe he might turn out to be a diamond in the rough for you guys, but yeah, I mean, good kid, So I think it's going to be a little different because I see that some of the players are buying into the team culture, all that stuff. And usually when a player buys into it, it's usually a good thing because if they don't buy into a head coach is what they're doing, then it's not going to do good. You saw what Josh McDaniel was doing with the Raiders, right? I don't think anybody was buying into it at first. So you see Antonio Pierce. He relates to the football players because he played the game. When you play the game and you're a well-respected player, it's going to come a long ways.
Yeah. I mean, because they just haven't like the last time to go for the easy one, but never see like the guy in the rest of the love as Antonio Pierce because we've been there, done that. Because they just brought like the old school era Raiders attitude and I just feel like this is like the moment that we're waiting for. Because after we just saw like a whole like a disasters, this is like the right choice that we're gonna make it. And I know he's like a former linebacker from New York Giants. He also had a great heart. What about for the leadership? And of course, it's all about for the respect, the mentality. I mean, this is like the biggest decision that no one see that coming. And after we just saw for the whole drama of Josh Jacobs and say, hey, players come, players in, but there are some wild players who play with a heart and they deserve about to be there. They deserve to still to be the best. Because for example, Max Crosby from Michigan, I mean, he's like one of the greatest ones of the whole generation because not only he just had a podcast, but also his career performance is top to the level. And maybe it's not a lie, or maybe it's not, but he's just like one of the dogs. But also we just see like Devontae Adams, Robert Spillane. Also, we just got the battle of quarterback, which is Aiden O'Connor versus Gardner Minshew. But I guarantee that AOC could be like something really important. But I know that I see like a lot of competition about this year, but this happened to some balls because you gotta watch it at College State because he's a gunslinger that walking in for 8th string to break it down for Drew Brees. I mean, he's like will be the jump of the rookie quarterback because he doesn't look like very ready. I know it's gonna be like for underdog to top to tender, but for the battle, I won't be able to sabotage for the battle right now. But I would love to see where they come with underrated because he did like in a tough situation and probably look better with the full season, but also usually get better for the rookie season, but laking the ball. But I don't think that's gonna be necessary. But I would love to see Aiden O'Connor to be like the starter and not Gardner Minshew because there's a lot of full tools into the quarterback between for the footwork, the speed, and of course for the defense. I mean, he did great with the best situation, but his only mobility is overrated. But it's not like Lamar Jackson, but he only moves at the pocket where he needs to.
I mean, see, this is the risky part about this Raiders team. I mean, if you guys had your quarterback settle in, maybe you guys would be a legit team for sure. But you look at how Gardner Minshew, you look at his track record. He only can win you 7 games at the max. But as far as statistics, he can get you some numbers in fantasy football for sure. Aiden O'Connell, one thing about him is, it's just he just played as a rookie. So I think when he has a full season of learning this offense, it's only going to be better for this guy. Like if they feel confident about this guy, then there's a chance that he's going to make some huge strides because he's got the chemistry, he's got everybody he's working with. So you look at continuity, that's what everybody looks at. And maybe Aiden O'Connell kind of has it for you guys. Maybe that's why you guys went with him over Jimmy at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, if you can have the legitimate shot to become like the lone third answer, I mean, you can put it like that, like the best available. I mean, helping out for the defense. I mean, I love his mindset about for the battle. Plus, he stepped through the bad situation last year. With good talent around him, he can be very competitive. But I believe that the most of the talent we needed too. But about that, he only played one season as a rookie, but it's not enough to say he can prove and be starter quality. Because after what you saw for against the Chargers, after what you saw for the Vikings, after we just saw for the Chiefs, I mean, love it or hate it, because they just wanted to trade over the Bunko package. I mean, there would be a low retain as a backup, but I mean, they got like the right choice. But again, like a one score to take like the foot off of the class because after what you see like the dumb plays, I mean, why are we going to display it? Because I know it's going to be the answer. I know it's going to be not the answer, but I should be suing. Why? Because give it a reason too. Because every player had to go to improve it about for the second year. I mean, this should be happy because the best quarterback out of the camp is going to be like the starter. Because there are like 2 players coming with like to be in the starter. Also, there's also personality wise, not a team as a backup. But I really think that we'll be competitive for the spot. I mean, that will be like a get into improvement about for the last season, pretty much either way. But I would love to see like when the stars get job done. I just want to be like the win to the job, but it seems that it can even surprise us and get it like a ball out. But Aiden O'Connor just improved every game, was doing up and down for the stars. For example, he was trash against Vikings. He was good after the Chargers. He sucked very hard against KC because it was like a tough competition. But then it closed out for the solid games against Indy and Denver. He's earned the right to compete. But assuming he has at the same level which you saw them, has a better potential to take a leap.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of did exactly what he was needed to do. Like there was not the games he was going to play spectacular, but he did enough to win you guys those games. So I think when people look at stats, right? Yeah, it's nice to have all that fantasy football stats, but sometimes these quarterbacks could have one of the crappiest stats and still win the ball game. They just have to do the job and not mess it up. So, when you look at this, this is going to be the interesting opening for that division. I mean, Chiefs are defending Super Bowl champs for a reason, but there's just can the Raiders actually surprise people this year? I don't know. Like you look at the Chargers, I already seen what they were struggling from the get-go. It's because they didn't have an actual head coach. Maybe the change with Jim Harbaugh, they can actually be more competitive because what I've seen from the Chargers was that team wasn't buying into Brandon Staley. They were quitting on this guy. So that kind of gave me a hint. Just like how you guys were quitting on Josh McDaniels. Maybe there's a different culture. Like, how do you feel about this division this year?
I mean, about for Josh McDaniels, I mean, that was like that was just like a head on the rock. I mean, for that reason, because I just had enough for like Josh McDaniels. At the first time when he was like the new coach and everything, I was just like I was very confused. But I think was one of the biggest mistakes that are that graded to most people. I mean, it's just like an egomaniac who is gonna refuse it when it's wrong and is gonna be like a control freak. But to be fair, because under a regime of Josh McDaniels, that did underperform badly. Because if you look at the schedule, the only terrible was like the Bears game. I mean, what's like the official head of the team was to go bad? I mean, they're just gonna decide this Johnson seems like a more reliable guy because of the part of this one. Because in addition to completing like a fall, because he was just like the offensive genius, because he's like a more disrespectful because he would throw the players under the bus for taking any responsibility. Is it not like because right now it isn't just like a terrible coach. It's just like very terrible. He thinks like the smartest guy, but he's not humble. He doesn't give it like an enough respect. We just saw for the Patriots as an assistant. He got pulled out by the qualified offensive analyst because he just ruined for the multiple success. Because remember the time he was like the new coach of Denver Broncos? He just gets fired. Right now, he was just like a terrible leader because of the scheme, it really sucks because instead of scheming up a player's strength, he also employed a bunch of ex Patriots to run the offense because he was never took accountability and constantly talking about for the players not executed to needed to improve. I mean, he was just like a nail in the head. It's just like feeling the stuff for letting guy for very compelling for the frustration, but also they just lost because they had the shows that they didn't watch it. They're going to games right now because they just basically because they just trying up for the week number 4. And they just assigned for the after choking them, but they say you can't win until you still have lost him. But aside from because he immediately has straight horrible play games and time management decisions because throughout the past years he's not very good at all because he just let it watch up over useless guys with the Patriots. I mean, the long snapper with the game one for Brian Hoyer, Dorsett, Chandler Jones, Harold. I mean, he probably just lost to the team because the contrast in the covered after the season because he couldn't adapt it.
I mean, like you seen what he was in Denver. I mean, the attitude speaks for itself. I don't think he's ever mature like as a head coach, but as a play caller, he was just there's a different position. There's a different role where a lot of people excel at. Let's be honest. Like when you look at Josh McDaniels, what was his success based by? Just because in New England he had the success because of the guys with Belichick and Tom Brady. When he went with the Broncos, he didn't have none of that. He didn't have none of that with the Raiders. Like you said, he was trying to bring some guys from the Patriots, which it could work for some purposes, but it doesn't work all the time because you want to get actual players who would fit your culture instead of somebody who might be an okay fit. But like bringing in some guys like Brian Hoyer, that's not a good way to bring somebody in, even though he knows your system, but he's kind of a wash-up kind of quarterback. But you look at the division, can the Raiders actually turn it around? Like proper coaching, just like Antonio Pierce is doing, it's possible. But Kansas City is just what they are. I don't know. Maybe they might fall off. Maybe they might not. I'm not really convinced with the Broncos. I didn't see enough from the Broncos where I'm like saying, oh, yeah, this team's going to be good. No, I just don't know about the Broncos because they always seem to get these quarterbacks. And it's like, is this Bo Nix guy going to be legit? All I see from Bo Nix is potential bust, man, because this kid was a bust at Auburn. He needed to go to another program to be where he was. I think he's overrated. I may be a hater for saying Bo Nix is overrated. I don't know, but he might be good for what's going on with the Broncos, but they're bringing in somebody who's washed. Sean Payton isn't what he is. But you look at the Chargers, I think with Jim Harbaugh, it's going to work because players are going to want to play their hearts out there. We've seen him, what he did in San Francisco, where this Niners team had some talent, but they didn't have the right coaching staff. When they brought in Harbaugh, rest was history. I think it could be the same for the Chargers. Like, how do you think
Yeah.
about these teams in general?
Yeah, I mean it's very competitive, but I think it's gonna be like the May from the north or west. But I think it's gonna be like the most talented from the top to the bottom. I mean, they're gonna be like the worst about that, but they took like a step back. They had a decent shot to win the division. I mean, everyone they clowns it about for the defense, but I don't see like why is it the problem right now. I don't see that about this because I know one of these games are gonna be more competitive, but they're very know about for the experienced coach, but they know about this guy for the Kansas City Chiefs because they resolved it about this because the chemistry between Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, and of course Patrick Mahomes is undeniable because they're gonna win another year Super Bowl, which is most competitive, but know they're about to be massively improved because right now they just got Jim Harbaugh, which is from Michigan Wolverines. I mean, know about for a patron is gonna be at least very competitive. But how this gonna be really are because they're getting better on the right track. But it's gonna be like a really gauntlet, but they're gonna be a little long way. It's gonna be like it's like playing checkers because we just beat at the Chiefs with more than the people watching because now they're like a little upgrade for the quarterback. So they'll be fine about this because I know that they will say like the same over. Yeah, last year Chargers and Broncos that are contenders and Raiders gonna be like the worst team in the division. But I think this year is gonna be changed a lot because Chargers are still the Chargers and they are in cap space and Broncos is still cruel how the way they're gonna handle it for us. And the roster it's absolutely trash because they didn't even progress it about for the last few weeks. About this one because right now Chiefs is obviously good, but we show up progress at about for the last season against them.
I
And
mean, yeah, I
Mhm.
mean the thing about it is, I think the way you guys were able to stop the Chiefs, where is your defense was able
Yeah,
to really find game plans how to stop them. So, like I think it's gonna be pretty interesting. Like, is it like out of the question that I think you guys are maybe a playoff team? I'm not doubting it, but I'm just saying that I'm more kind of sold with Jim Harbaugh, what he brings to the table, because I've seen what he does in the turnarounds. Antonio Pierce, I just have to see what he can do in a full season. But, I'm impressed. He's got the entire players to buy into him. That's what you want as a head coach. You want the players to buy into it. And that's what they need. Because if you don't buy into it, players are just not going to want to play for you. They're going to quit on you. And what you experienced throughout your coaching days with Gruden and Josh McDaniels, players just didn't seem to want to be there. So you look at the difference. But if you compare the difference between the NFC West, it's a very competitive division also. The Niners, you look at the Rams, I think you kind of have to agree these players buy into them. Sean McVay, no matter how I despise the Rams, he gets these players buying into what they're doing. Kyle Shanahan, whether people want to say what they want to say about him, but if players are buying into him, the culture, when you build a culture, it matters. So the Rams and Niners have been very successful based by the fact that they have a great culture. You look at Seattle, they're already changing. They're already turning the page, turning the page from Pete Carroll. So it's a new culture. They're bringing the Ravens culture. The Arizona Cardinals, they're a young, promising team, but we don't know what they're all about. So that's how I look at it. How do you think about the NFC West, just from an outside look at it?
yeah. I mean, it could be like that every year because right now we just have we have an experience who it doesn't improve like it until worthy. Because I think this is gonna be like the next year gonna be in shape. The Chargers and Broncos. I mean, Chargers they could have like a huge roster overhaul during the team for the high salary ordering to a team that Harbaugh wants to roll with. And Broncos, you got to be dealing with Russell's contract backup situation, like Luster roster. I know about that, but somehow there's going to be a lot of different competition. But if the Raiders had to go to nail the quarterback of the future, they have the fast start. upgrading in so many positions, they have the chance to make it a playoffs and maybe fight for the division. It all depends. All the defense that are giving out for the last year, and when it comes to coming in and producing, but they're gonna be like a top to the level. And I know we have to meet more talent with the side of the balls that are being like some of the years that the draft has been deplorable. Well, this time with the draft, I mean, we just got like the best weapons, and we're just seeing like the very improved, and it's gonna be like a lot of years ahead for this one, but we're not even at the level yet. But if we see like it behind there, just look around for the Reed. Look who's winning, who Luck Johnson. I mean, the common denominators. I mean, they've been looking at the ways to come for the Super Bowl. That remains for the case. The guns that they have the weakest, nothing go with it. But there's gonna be like all the teams should worry about it because we just have it like a decent. But I know that people can hate like very Carr, but very much we would just be for the few years without a quarterback. But I just have it to feel that there's gonna be a lot of tough competition. But if we just see like between the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders, there's gonna be a lot of tough and obviously who's gonna be like the players or it's gonna be like a championship.
It's pretty much wide open, you know. Like I think it's only 3 legitimate teams that might just be in the mix. Like, if you guys start on a fast start, if you start on early, I think you guys have a better chance. But I think it comes down to late in the season. All that matters is November, December. If you play your best ball, you can have your early starts, but you know how early starts go, right? It don't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing. You can have the earliest starts. You can start off the season like how the Broncos did. You know, like you get like how the Broncos started off the season, right? They started off a good start like in 2009 when Josh McDaniels was the head coach. But how did that work out? Like,
yeah, I mean because this is why. Because right now I just shouldn't notice about it because I know he worked before for the Patriots and the Denver Broncos. I mean, he's really had to go for like all the combines to create a guy who demands like the ability to destroy the team will stop him not to destroy.
Let me answer this Tony's question. You know, I like to answer some of these questions just to get their perspective. You know, did you get tired of Harbaugh at the end of the tenure as a Niner fan? Figure he couldn't win a big one. Actually, I never got tired of Jim Harbaugh. I was actually so disappointing. I mean, come on, he couldn't win the big one. We were going through a turmoil for the last few years. We were going through I think we had to go through a couple head coaches before we even got Kyle Shanahan. I think the one thing I missed about Jim Harbaugh was his intensity, the firepower. Like people were buying into it. When you had Jim Tomsula, nobody was buying into this position coach. Chip Kelly? Hell no, bro. Like Kyle Shanahan is a great coach too, but he's not the kind of coach that just fires up everybody as much often. You know, like that's what I like about Jim Harbaugh is he was a firing guy. If I had to choose between him or Kyle, I'd go with Jim Harbaugh all day because Jim Harbaugh brings a energy, dude. He brings an intensity, something that you just don't. But it's because Jed York ruined the relationship, and he picked Trent Baalke, who's the Jaguars, Jaguars GM. But I think the thing that I've known about Jim Harbaugh is it doesn't take that long for him to do a turnaround for a team. You know, that's one thing I've noticed about what he did in San Diego, like a college in San Diego, and what he did in Stanford, and what he did with the Niners. His track record speaks for itself. Sure, his tenures were short term, but when he was in Michigan, he stayed in Michigan for the longest and won a national championship at that point. Oh, yeah. So that would be definitely something that you have to look at. Like the reason why it didn't work out with him in San Francisco was because of Jed York's mistake. Jed York picked the damn GM, which I think it was a terrible decision, but I digress. But I don't get tired of Jim Harbaugh. I actually admire the guy. He puts his heart out there for the players.
Yeah, I mean, because I just saw because he was working enough for the 49ers and then he was coming back for the Chargers. I mean, there's like the difference between Jim Harbaugh or Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I just assume because they have a very much a mediocre roster at the time that they came in, but I mean that wasn't having the coach for nearly a decade. The other just lost at the Super Bowl. I mean, even though that it's just like at the boss special teams that are just missing like at the pad, what is trying out for the power failure with the kill out for the Baltimore Ravens. Not to mention about for the running the ball with Frank inside for the fight. But if they wanted to keep like real M-down experience of the question disappointing for the Super Bowl loss, I mean, Harbaugh's actually later that losing for the Super Bowl or his brother, well, he was better, but they gotta toss it out for the valuable skill sets. I know he has some issues, but it feels like they're considering he's been out for a league for a decade. But I think that both are great riches. I mean, there's like the soft spots for the leaders, like
I mean, if you look at Kyle Shanahan, he would be somebody that people get, but he's not the kind of guy that players are just like, When I look at Kyle Shanahan, I just look at him as a regular, like one of those little geek boys, like one of the genius, the so smart, intelligent guy. But when I look at Jim Harbaugh, I look at a guy I can relate to. Just like how you guys look at Antonio Pierce, but the difference is Jim Harbaugh has a proven resume. You want a guy who can fire up the people, put in some more energy. I mean, the thing about Jim Harbaugh is some people may say he's all hype and all this, but you look at his resume, he knows how to win. So I look at the Chargers talent. The only question mark I look at for the Chargers is maybe the receivers are probably going to be the unproven question mark because they only have they got rid of majority of their wide receivers. So can that guy from Georgia prove otherwise? Can Brendan Rice be a good draft still? I don't know. I think that's one of their weakest spots, but they've addressed the offensive line. So I think Justin Herbert has whatever it takes to be successful. But you look at the Denver Broncos, it just seems like their structures are just not it doesn't seem like it's going to be built to be successful right now for the Broncos. You got this kid, Bo Nix. Is this just going to be another disaster quarterback? Because the Broncos haven't done nothing since they had Peyton Manning at quarterback. So it's kind of like a recycle at that position and recycle from head coach. But when you look at the Chiefs, I don't have no questions about the Chiefs. I just see that they have some weird starts, then they end up being the hot team in the playoffs, and that's just how the Chiefs are.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about for Bo Nix. I mean, honestly, one of this downside is not that my point out because there's few quarterbacks they do, but it's just like the dice rolls. So it's not even a fault, even though the proper coaching and development, his skill set or style is perfect for everything. I mean, they said of Boston now for currently to be in Denver. I mean, there's talking about it. A light processing ability, quick release, take care of the ball. Everyone's saying that the great man. I mean, it's just like a complete fall to Russell Wilson, but he doesn't have the build of Tim Tebow or the speed of Peyton Lynch or the size of Brock Osweiler. He said that a bunch of quarterbacks are freaking out, but he also processes kids frantic and stuck in overtime all times. But how is it going to be like they evaluate for different tools and trades? But I don't think anything negative is a killer flaw. There's a lot of skepticism because it's not going to be easy to Oregon offense, but he gets like the setting law because he's a light with accuracy. But there's like the terms of maturity and experience when it comes to deeply and ingrained, like coach up a younger prospect. And I will tell you this one.
Yeah. Well, to answer Tony's record again. I mean, you look at Jim Harbaugh. I think he's 6-3 in the playoffs. Is it 4-2 or 6-3? One of the two. But that's still above 500. I mean, let's be honest, dude. Let's be honest. Harbaugh can win the big one. He just won a national championship. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you're gonna win nothing with the Chargers. I don't think so. But if he can turn around that Chargers team and make them into a perennial team where they can compete, then that would be a little different. But I think Harbaugh is a proven commodity than most people would give him credit for. But I look at all the other coaches. Andy Reid, all it took was so many. I think he was a great coach to begin with, but he just wasn't meant to be in Philadelphia.
Yes. But also I have to go for the situation. but definitely have to do bet X's and O's. Because if they have it like the success bringing it out for like some guys, but they forgot about the how horrible offense with the NFL. Maybe it could be changed a lot for some backlash coming out from the mid-year, but it's gonna be how can to find the potential here. I mean, they just see like a lot of potential. I mean, to have it the most precision offense and making like multiple of it as tenure, but I'm not even upset with what says at anyone, but I'm not particularly calling out for the rank claims that said a lot of this, but I'm trying to have it go for the therapy because of the corporation in general. But I think it's gonna be like a good momentum coming out for how supposed to be running off with this one. I mean, they're capable of an analysis that is not even definitely closer to trying out for the therapy of the comparison.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a little different when it comes down to it. But speaking of what your boy's saying, we might need to mix it up with the NFC West a little bit. So we'll talk about the NFC West. Here's a question by one of your dudes. Okay, like realistically, man, I really despise the Rams, but to answer the question to Raider Rebel, I don't know, dude. It's kind of hard to beat Sean McVay. Sean McVay and that offense, they know how to be really good, and they had a really good offseason. And I have to be non-biased when it comes down to a division team. I've always kept it real. So the Rams are kind of like always been that team that's always been in the mix for that division or been in the mix as a contending team. I mean, they got the hardware. It's hard to just, gotta swallow that pride when it comes down to it. But Sean McVay is just a really good coach when it comes down to it. I mean, I think they did pretty well in the draft. They drafted really well. So free agency, they got what they needed. But can this Raiders team compete over this Rams team? If the way how Pierce has given them the competitiveness, it's anybody's ball game. But I would rather you guys actually give them a beat for that season so we can get a lead over that division. But realistically, this Rams team is a joke.
Yeah, I know this is something that I was like getting involved for the NFC West, but I figured it out because there's gonna be like a lot of competition, but it all compares with some of the players, the defense. I mean, look at what happened in like in the 2010. They just seemed like they're the worst division winner to history to the playoffs. There's like the real chance that gone to cement itself as a division, but it's more like more balanced. But they're gonna be like some great teams, but I don't think there's gonna be like more quiet enough to get anything better. But somehow this is literally possible because they're gonna make it an argument. This is gonna be who's gonna be the win, who's gonna be the lose. But it was absolutely like can improve about how to be competitive. But it's still like gonna missing some pieces, especially on defense, on special teams. I mean, it's gonna be better because right now they're really dragged down about for the competition. If they had to code for this one, it's pretty easy. It's not even particularly close because it looks like the playoff teams that are very competitive one each other, but they're gonna represent how they're gonna make it into the tier. But we might be having to compare for the about last year, but they still have to go to defend it. But I really had to go for the current that I would go to win on it. But every single span of this year, but they only had to be like the Packers. But every single year, which is seeing like it's cemented itself with the totally like but they come but a competitive but once again. But we only need like a record to win the MC best. This also had a positive point differential. None of the division can claim that.
No, I mean, you look at the NFC West, the Niners have been winning this division for back-to-back years, but the Rams, they're not too far off. They are actually on the cusp of being back what they used to be. Seattle, you look at Seattle, they're going under a new culture because Pete Carroll's retired, or they just fired him and moved on. So Arizona, we've seen what they were last year. It's coming off an Eagles coaching staff, like forget his name, but he's actually like a DC coach. Like they had him for a while, and then he became a head coach. And Cardinals are like a young team, so I don't know. It kind of seems like they're an unproven team. They're a young, hungry team. Maybe they might surprise us, but Seattle, you don't know what you're getting because it's a new coaching staff, a new everything. So things are going
Yeah.
to be a little different. But you know what you're getting with the Niners and Rams because Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan have built their culture for years. So I think as far as the NFC West, it's going to be a pretty tough one for both sides. I think Niners and Rams are going to go head to head. I think one of them, whoever wins that division, there's a good chance they can either get the top seed. So it's one or the other. Like I think everybody's not giving the Rams enough credit as much as I rather talk smack about them, but I think the Rams are actually leading towards the right direction as a outside look at it from them.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, there's like tough enough competition to be see how we're gonna improve about this. But there's like another comparison or competition that doesn't go too far right now, but it's very competitive what it goes than expected. Because if they want to see like a healthy, like in another quarterback, because division rivalries are more way competitive. Because the last time the Rams were not even better, but it's gonna have that any time, but it's slightly more intelligent angle. Look at the linebackers. The teams of Shanahan, including McVay, they usually attack linebackers. The 49ers has a very excellent linebackers when the Rams happen. So the Niners had an edge there. So how did they get able to fit into this? Because their match are like a team versus team. It's also like a shenanigan versus Carroll versus McVay. I mean, they're way more competitive because Rams already everything good when they got Stafford, and then more focusing about for at least beat the Seahawks, which is to get the coaches to get the jobs. But also have a really good at trick plays where they often get in the nature of the mental of keeping steady in place again late because they didn't have enough time to catch it up. But it's still playing competitive. They got more focused about preparing to face them because it was too much difficult to against like bad quarterbacks. And I would expect that pretty sharp is going to drive their holds it up. But I guarantee that it's some kind of like a Buju, but I mean, the world never to just click the whole way through.
Yeah. It's gonna be pretty much. It's good, like the way how Sean McVay and Kyle do this. They out scheme certain opponents, but
Yeah.
like Shanahan just knows how to expose some of the weakness. But the problem with Kyle Shanahan is, I don't question his success in the regular season, but when it comes deep in the playoffs, that's where it needs to be answered. Like, can you win the big one? You can win 2 playoff games. That's not a question to doubt for. But Sean McVay, he got that monkey off his back with that. So I think a lot of it, like you look at those 2 teams, they're good for many years, but Seattle, it's just going to be a challenging part of their culture. It's like how you're going to adjust with a new defense that's run like a Baltimore Ravens defense. What's going to be the answer at quarterback? Is Geno going to even be the guy? Or they're going to go with, or they just got Sam Howell. Maybe Sam Howell could be the answer for them. You look at Arizona, it's just a lot of young players. You don't know what you're getting with either team. I mean, Kyler Murray, when he's healthy, he can play good, but this is just – it's going to be a really tough one. Shout out to my boy John Jay. What's going on? I know you're pretty familiar with John Jay.
Yes. I mean, I'm very familiar, but I really understand about for the competition is getting like a really tougher. But I know it's gonna be more competitive. But they maybe had the best division, but it's also had to go for the teams when it comes to this one. I mean, just happy to include him, but they might hate each other, but other conference they know about for the together how they around the sleep. But also, it had like the best time zone to watch football. But also, it just have like the teams as long as they get the season wouldn't make it. But it's not even that they're gonna make it to run to the defense, but they're the far away to always end up beating each other. But it's just like a testament how around these teams are they're always making it like among different squads.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting, but coming down this season, dude, we'll definitely find out. But, hey, I'd like to give a shout out to Rudy. I know he hasn't been around the stream in a minute, but I've actually, it's good to see Rudy, man. I'm supposed to get him on the show pretty soon, like maybe like later in the season I'll get him on. But shout out to David Corona. And shout out to Raider Rebel, one of your followers.
Yes, sir.
I guess shout out to a lot of them, Ray Love and quite a few other dudes out there. But
There's Tony Shepard, yes.
yeah, they're one of your supporters. Yeah, and then I mean, we've been knowing each other for at least 2 years around social media, and I was like your first guest on one of your shows, but it's nice to at least get you on an edition. I know you're like a different perspective because you came from South America and then you moved to the East Coast. You moved to the East Coast, and then you, like, that's how I look at interesting parts of other fans. Like, thinking about all 31 teams, like, you look at how maybe I rather get a fan from a different side of the world, maybe, and see how did you become a fan of that? It's like, that's how I look at it. But you kind of get a different perspective and see where they're all coming from. So yeah, but it was a lot of fun, dude. So we'll figure out something, like maybe we'll catch up something late in the season. But if you're looking for a Rams fan, you should hit up my boy Rudy, man. Rudy's he's an OG, one of them old school Rams fans. Like, yeah, he's a good dude. I mean, he could be. I mean, I'll admit he could be a little annoying, but he's a cool guy. He's funny. He's funny in my book.
Yeah. And I know that you remind something that I was like the content creator, because the first time that I was interviewed, we was talking about from football to wrestling, and that was just like a great experience. And now we just became like this in full circle that we're talking about from everything from the football, and that was just like a great experience to me. And I cannot wait to see how this is gonna be so important for the football season. But I guarantee the football season this year, I mean, it's completely a lot of different than we just see for the last year.
Yeah, like wrestling was something that got us into like really interacting. Like, we can talk wrestling for going on too, but I'll probably do that on a different channel. But I have I get a lot of my pro wrestlers on my other channel. But yeah. Ooh, so he says recent information I've heard. Let's see. Well, Al Davis died years ago, but was losing, but was going to sell. So he was going to sell the Raiders, but I think Mark took, Mark inherited what his dad took, what his dad owned, and Mark took the ownership. But that was I don't know if that was true, but I think that was the plan. He was
because I just saw for a documentary about Al Davis versus the NFL, so I was getting involved for watching the documentary. And then there was something rumors, but it's after the change in the mind, because after he just died, Al Davis, I mean, the whole complete family had to go for like a full circle. And I know that Mark Davis could be like something like good choices, some bad choices, but it always depends for the cycle.
Yeah, but I guess he was hearing about what was going on with Davis when he was losing money and he was about to sell the team. Yeah. But I guess something changed his mind.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, I guess David said, "What's up to you, man?"
Yes, what's up, David?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll figure out something. But yeah, wrestling, we can go on with that too, but I'll do that another day. But yeah, it's going to be exciting this upcoming season, dude. I expect at least a better promising team from all. I think AFC West is tricky because maybe I might be wrong on this one. Because I'm just buying into the actual thing that I've seen before. When you've seen Jim Harbaugh as a head coach, you've seen he can turn around a culture. I might be wrong on this one. Maybe you guys might be in that discussion. So it's just really depends. Things can change. It can be the unexpected. Wait, you didn't read my question? What are you talking about?
Oh, he was talking about for another. Oh.
Dude, you talking about the Warriors, bro? You were joking about the Warriors. I thought I don't read jokes, man.
Oh my god.
He was like talking about but the other day I actually thought he was playing under Jim Everett at first, but then John explained to me he doesn't do that type of stuff. But the message just kind of seemed, the message to me kind of seemed like it would be John Jay. I'm like, is that John Jay playing with me? Because he's a jokester. But then come to find out he doesn't do that type of stuff. So I actually mistaken him that way. Fun fact: all Cali teams and Las Vegas teams, the Rams only team that owns their stadium. What? I think the only one you don't own is the Levi, bro. We give you a hard time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm not losing my mind, but because they just run it all because before they just moved to Las Vegas, I mean, they just stand for like a different like a teams for California. For example, they just got in California they just had only 4 teams before Raiders move out to Las Vegas to invest something in sports because the only remains for the culture because California just got Rams, Chargers, 49ers, Raiders before moving into Las Vegas. I mean, they're gonna be like excited for like they have a great stage to make like some football thing.
Yeah, they did, but I think the Raiders could have had more of a bigger market in LA actually, but they went Las Vegas instead. But it's kind of like an intriguing spot how that turned out to be. Like at the end of the day, we'll just see how it plays out this season. I mean, hey, but it's good to have you, bro. We've been going on for almost an hour. I know you probably got some stuff to do, and maybe at a different time we'll definitely do something with a wrestling podcast or something if you give me a schedule. And for those other people who didn't check out my other content, I actually interviewed the guy from Next Friday that played Baby Joker. I actually had what's his name, Rolando Molina, whatever his name is.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, that's one of those guys that I just saw from Next Friday.
Yeah, he had a good story about what was going on, but I get all these other people on that channel. But yeah, I do sincerely apologize because sometimes I kind of think sometimes because the messages, sometimes the comments, you would think, is that John Jay? But I wasn't. I was just thinking for a minute. And then I said, nah, he couldn't do that. He couldn't do that. But that's just how he is. But John Jay's a jokester, man. He's a jokester. But yeah, we'll figure out something. But shout out to Rudy. Go check him out. Maybe you guys can work something down this season because I know you guys play the Rams. Maybe you can get him on your show or you go on his show. Yeah, they do with Mahomes in that division. Yep.
Oh yeah, they have a tough division. So
yeah, it's gonna be tough, but I think for second place it can be between the Chargers and the Raiders. I don't really kind of feel with the Broncos. I don't know.
Yep.
It's like question with me. But before I end this, what's your prediction for the Raiders? How do you see their season?
I will see 12 wins and 5 losses. Because the only wins they just got it, the only losses is between Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore Ravens. We have a divided division between Los Angeles Chargers, also with the Kansas City Chiefs, and another loss is going to be Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the rest is going to be 12 wins, 5 losses.
Okay, well, if that happens, at least you'll have that under I'll put that in your receipts, man. I'll make sure you be the one that gets credit for this one. I mean, well, good luck for you guys this season, man. I know it's going to be pretty interesting. But for everybody else, go subscribe to Al Capinto Rafael G. I don't know if I said it right.
No, it's El Capitan Refugio, but many people, as a lot of people, they just call me Ralph, but I'm almost ahead to 1K subscribers. So there it is, the name of my channel, El Capitan Refugio. You can tap it in on YouTube. So yes, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, go check it out. And for you guys, thank you guys for tuning in. And hey, man, we all had a good time.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.